Are we live? We are.
He's live.
Welcome to another episode of Reptile Nerd Radio. I am your co-host Russ, along with Mr. Harsh Reptiles here, and we got an exciting one lined up tonight. Before that, a little bit of housekeeping. Um, please support USARC. If you don't support USARC, reach out to myself or Chad. We will help get you a membership. USARC Florida as well. Memberships are free, I think, still. If not, reach out and we'll help get you one of those too. Um, and with that, let's introduce Miss Katie Peoples.
Hey guys.
Howdy, howdy.
How's everybody
I'm
doing?
sorry. Also, real quick, if I have to get up and walk out of here, it's because it's 87 degrees in my room and it's very
Yeah.
humid. So I might have to get up and walk outside. Yeah, but I'll be back.
You could always carry
So,
the
yeah, we
tripod
gotta,
with you.
yeah, just pick it up and carry it. It's a selfie stick now. I mean, I guess a tripod probably looks like a selfie stick if I'm holding it.
Yeah,
Probably.
that's very true.
Well, I'm excited for this one. I know we've been talking a lot, just privately over the last couple weeks and stuff. So, um, I just would like to hear like how you got into reptiles in general, uh, or actually maybe introduce your boa with his cool mustache real quick. I think everyone needs to see that.
So typical boa name here. This is Rocky the boa. Let me see if I can get him to look at the camera like he likes to. Go ahead, bud. Yeah, you like the camera, don't you, buddy? There he is. This is Rocky the boa.
Gotta love boa mustaches.
Approximately 3 years old, maybe somewhere in that area. He's a good boy. He's eventually going to be one of our educational ambassadors because he's just the best.
Now, are all of your animals rescues, or do you have like some animals that you also had like acquired as pets like prior to that?
I mean, he was a pet. I got him in pretty rough condition. He was being kept on Aspen and being fed hoppers his whole life. So I mean, he wasn't in the greatest shape in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I still paid a pretty penny for him. I mean, I've got a little baby hog nose, stuff like that. So I do have my pets. But all of what I have here right now were surrenders. And this is his literal favorite thing. He's going to break my glasses because he's big now.
That's what they do.
But
Yeah.
all of the ones that I have, all but 3 are surrenders. So they all came to me just from people that either couldn't take care of them or financially couldn't take care of them anymore. So they're all doing fantastically right now. I was partnering with somebody up in Baltimore at one point, and we decided to go our separate ways. I went up and took 6 from her at one point. The only one that I have left that has not been adopted out that can't be is my green iguana. Oh man, I might have froze. There we go. But I have a sanctuary green iguana named Tor. Pretty antisocial. Well, we'll go with that. I wouldn't say angry.
As green iguanas tend to be.
Yeah.
He's he's definitely not one to come out and play by any means. I've come a long way with him. He's been here since April, so I've come a really long way with him now. He'll come out and sit on my shoulder and only whip me like 1 out of like 50 times. So we're making progress. He only nips me every now and again, So we're getting there with him. He was incredible.
I was gonna say like I grew up in the 90s, so if you went into a pet store, it was like normal ball pythons, green iguanas, and like maybe a corn snake, some corn snakes or whatever, or maybe milk snakes. And I learned my lesson with green iguanas trying to like reach my hand in and touch one, and it whipped the hell out of my arm. And I just decided I was cool after that.
My stepdaughter learned that same lesson. We have a rule in my house that you're not allowed to stick your hands in enclosures without permission. And she broke that rule. And she learned real quick that she will get whipped if she sticks her hand in that enclosure. And she did. He whipped her real good. And she looked at me and she goes, "That's why you tell me not to put our hands in enclosures, right?" And I said, "Yep, that's exactly why."
That's a good rule to have, I really, I don't have many people that come to my house. I'm also gone a lot, but I've told people, if you can hold whatever you want, but don't just reach in and grab them. They're all super cool. I just don't want to be responsible because you don't know what you're doing, or anything can happen anytime. So
exactly. And now my kids will go into his enclosure and they can pull him right out and handle him like nothing in this world. But if they go into Tori's enclosure, I mean, he could bite the living crap out of him, whip him, whatever. And I don't want that to taint their idea of what a reptile interaction is supposed to be as young as they are. Sure. So I don't want that to be the memory that sticks with them is, that one time Kate's iguana, bit the crap out of them.
What do you do with your boy, Russ? Like, what's your sort of rules around grabbing animals and stuff?
Landon still has a healthy fear of being bit, which I'm okay with because that helps me. But he goes against the bearded dragon every time, right?
Yeah.
He sleeps with the bearded dragon at least once a week. He'll go in the ball python enclosures as long as they're not moving. If they jerk, he jerks. But he also doesn't open anything without permission. And pretty much everything is locked down. Like, he definitely can't get into the retic enclosures. They're locked. The ball pythons are just snake clamps to keep them in because they're ball pythons, man. I don't see it.
I'm sorry. That's hilarious to me. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta do it,
To do it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's an important thing to do, like when I was young, I was lucky that the people around me were supportive of me liking animals and stuff. And I think it's important, but it's also important to establish some sort of like boundaries or safety measures just so you don't, because you never know, like everyone's different. Like I remember the first time I got bit by a snake as a kid, I thought it was funny because it didn't hurt. And it was just a little garter snake. It was a wild caught garter snake. And it bit my pinky, and it had the tiniest little face, and it just wouldn't let go. And I thought it was funny, I'm just sitting there like trying to get it to let go. And it, but some people might be scared and they might not want to mess with them anymore. So,
like, I mean, I bring a lot of people over that are intrigued by my snakes, and I don't let any of them hold him until I've held the snake first, just to make sure he's calm and collected.
Yeah, I do the same.
I mean, when I was a kid, my mom was so terrified. I mean, I wasn't allowed to own snakes at all. I mean, I wasn't allowed to own reptiles. I have a picture of myself. I think I was 5 years old with a cast on my wrist. Ironically enough, I'd broken my wrist. And I have a red tail. I mean, and I was 5 years old, and it was this big old red tail. And I have it in my whole face. Like I look like a kid on Christmas because I wasn't allowed to when I was a kid. And so I think that was honestly the first time a reptile ever lit my life up. And from then on, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna own a reptile. I don't care if my mom never comes over to my house ever. Like, I'm gonna have reptiles, and and then I became an adult, and my first serious relationship, he didn't want snakes. He didn't want snakes in his house, and so I just dealt with it until I was in the current relationship that I'm in now, and my husband. I told him, I said, when we first got together, I was like, listen, here's the deal. We're going to have snakes. And he was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when it started. I've been with him for 6 years now. So
Nice.
I kind of went from 0 to 100 real quick. I owned my first ball python. And of course, it was an impulse buy. So I didn't do any research. I didn't do anything. I got a ball python. I threw it in a 20-gallon on some Aspen and thought everything was going to be okay. Everything was not okay. I lost my first ball python. It broke my soul. And so I decided from that point, I was just going to throw my whole mind into research. And I learned everything I possibly could about reptiles. And I didn't get my next ball python until... I don't even know. It was years. It was years after that. Like, it scarred me. It messed me up pretty bad. So I waited quite a while before I got my next ball python and really did research before I got any other animal after that. Even though I already knew what I was doing with so many different species at that point, I still, before I got an animal, made sure that I researched anything that I did before I got another animal, just to make sure that I brushed up on anything that I needed to before I got another animal. Just to make sure that anything that was going to happen to that animal, it was going to be because it was that animal, and it wasn't going to be because of anything that I did.
Sure.
And then I had somebody come to me and ask me if I would be a branch of their rescue. It was a friend of my husband's. Again, I don't really prescribe to a lot of drama. And that's not what we're here for today. So I'll leave names out of it. But it was another rescue in another state. And it was a friend of my husband's. And, we thought everything was kosher. We're old buddies. And so I, told him that I would be interested in, being a partner, so that he could branch out and have another branch of his rescue down here. And then I looked a lot harder into what was going on there, and found out through word of mouth and a couple of other people that there was some hoarder situations going on there. So I finally got him on video chat.
With the animals?
Oh, yeah.
Like hoarding animals? Okay.
Whoops.
Uh-oh.
You're frozen.
There we go.
Sorry about
You're back.
But yeah, so I had him video chat me, and I made him walk me around his property. I said, before I'm willing to go into business with you, I need to see what you're doing here. And at that point, I decided I didn't want to go into business with him at that point. At that point, there were enough people involved that, like, calls to animal control had to be made, and it was that bad. So I foresee that as dodging a major bullet.
Oh, for sure.
So
it's definitely rough, I think, in situations like that, because you might think everything's okay, and then somebody drags you through the whole slew of crap with them, and it's luck. It's good luck or good planning on your part to have made him do that, because other people can make you look bad. I've realized this over the years.
Especially in this industry.
Yeah, so
especially in this industry, it takes one wrong move to kind of flush your whole career down the drain. So I've tried to be really careful, who I get into bed with, and this happened twice, mind you. I had a second rescue offer to do the same thing, And I mean, I did the same thing this time. I was even more skeptical than I was the first time, and I did the same thing. And she was much better at hiding everything than the first one was, and it took a physical trip to go and pick up animals where I spent an entire 3 days cleaning her facility. That I was like, thank God I like came up here, because I mean, holy crap. It was bad. And she still to this day is taking in surrenders.
Yeah.
So it's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's why I honestly wanted to come and do this podcast, because a lot of people don't realize when they donate all of this money to all of these rescues that like a lot of people are not doing right by these animals. A lot of people are taking this money and they're just kind of sticking it in their pockets and, you know, living lavish lives and, you know, not giving the proper care to the animals that need it. And personally, we don't take monetary donations at all. I will not take monetary donations from you. If you send me a Venmo, I will Venmo it back to you. Don't want it. If you want to send something for our reptiles, shoot me a DM. I'd be glad to take bulbs or, you know, lights or, you know, substrate or, you know, decor. Or if you want to donate stuff like that, be my guest. I will not take your money.
Yeah.
I won't, because I'm not going to be that person. I want to build this rescue based on trust within my community, first and foremost. I want to build this based on education within my community, which is what we're more focused on right this second. If we can do both of those two things, the finances will come to build this into what it needs to be. And
Yeah,
that's just
absolutely.
point blank, you know, period. It's just, if you have trust within yourself and within your community, I mean, good things happen to good people when you do things the right way.
Yeah.
And if you can be patient, you can be patient with yourself. And that's the hardest part for me, is the patience part. Hey, bud.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's a lot more important than money too. You know, I think if you're getting involved with animals and the purpose behind that is money, well, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're breeding animals or you race, I don't know what you do. You do something with animals and the goal is for money, you're probably doing it for the wrong reason, you know.
Well, exactly.
If money comes, that's fine. That's part of it. That's just an effect of what you're doing, but that should definitely not be the first goal. I've never made $1 on an animal. I've spent tons of dollars on them, but I do it because I just love what I do. You know, I just love that. I love the animals, and you know, I wouldn't have it any other way. But I know we were talking backstage about that. Is like, it's a shame that there's rescues that give rescues a bad name. You know, and you see it in the community. People in the community give other people in the community a bad name. Like,
oh, exactly.
There's drama in certain parts of the community, and it affects other people in that part. But with rescues, it's kind of a bummer, more so because those are people who are taking care of the animals when things go wrong. You know, whatever the reason the animal got to that rescue. So it's a bummer when they're like just in it for money and they're accepting donations or charging money for different things. And
Oh, exactly. And the thing that baffles me is that people seem to think that you can get involved in rescues and make killer money doing it. That's never the case. You know, there may be some money to be made in breeding reptiles. I don't deny that. I don't deny that at all. If you can keep up with the morphs, if you can keep up with all that stuff, yes, there is potential to make money in breeding reptiles. However, if you're rescuing reptiles the sale or the adoption of the reptile should not be where you're making your money. If it is, you're not doing it right. You're just not.
Yeah.
There's so many other
sure.
avenues that you should be attacking from a rescue standpoint that should be making your financial capital. It shouldn't be the sale of those animals. I mean, our adoption fees are from $50 to $80, and that's what it is. I'm way more focused on the quality of the home that those reptiles are going into.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean it's a work in progress. Like currently, I'm not taking in any rescues right now. The only rescues that I will take in is like overflow from maybe other rescues that have gotten over their heads, or other places that have just taken in too many animals and can't handle it anymore. That's all I'm taking in right now because like Heidi just said, we're kind of focusing on building our foundation right now to make sure that we can work on expanding. When I went to that other rescue and picked up those 6 rescues, it put us probably about a year behind where we want to be. So, but I couldn't not, so it's one of those things where it was kind of one of those things where I just couldn't let it go. Like I couldn't just let those animals. I had to go up there and take what I could.
Yeah.
And so I went up there and I took 6 back, and it put me way behind. However, we're starting to build back up now. So we're getting to a point where, I've got 2 different dubia roach colonies going. I have 2 different cricket colonies going that are full little babies right now that I'm trying to grow out. I'm working on mealworms, working on superworms. I'm working on hornworms, even though I killed my entire first batch of hornworms. But
they're so cool looking. I think they're too cool. I'd never end up feeding them. I just have a bunch of worm pets.
Dude, they are. They're awesome. And watching
so
the
cool.
dogs come out, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I kind of like watching my lizard bite them in half more than I like watching them crawl around.
Dude, when all the juice squirts everywhere.
Yeah, it's messy. I like it.
That's a pretty metal comment.
I do have a question though about the.
It's great. It's great.
I do have a question about the cricket colonies, right? Because
absolutely.
Don't the dead crickets, they release that gas that causes other crickets to die faster. So what do you do to negate all that? I mean, do you pick dead crickets out every day?
Dirt.
Dirt?
Okay.
So I don't use cardboard in any of my colonies at all.
Okay.
Yeah, see, we didn't either, and we were keeping about 1,000 at a time, but we could never keep them alive long enough to feed them
I line my bins in about that much substrate at the bottom, and then I pack it full of wood and dirt or wooden sticks. So I just gather as many sticks and as much wood as I can, and I pack the whole entire container with it. And for whatever reason, I guess the dead crickets just kind of get mixed up into the dirt after a while, and it doesn't bother them, and I don't know why.
That's cool.
I
had a problem
Go ahead.
Do you have isopods in with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So all of my substrate is fully seeded with isopods, every last bit of it.
Nice. I had that problem just trying to get crickets to feed geckos, and I tried a couple different kinds of substrate in the little containers, and they always die before I can feed them. So I just got tired of having crickets because I hate crickets anyways. Yeah. So I just started feeding other things.
Right. And now, mind you, okay, so y'all are going to die. So my first box of crickets, okay, I had a super blonde moment, and I was in a rush, and bugs weed me out. Okay. Like, I'm mortally terrified of cockroaches. So when I put them all in a bin, I bought a clear bin so I could do, like, exposure therapy. And so I sit there and I stare at my roach bin so that I'm not so terrified of all the roaches. Well, I didn't think that the box of crickets would bother me because crickets don't bother me until I had a box of 1,000 crickets and I went to dump them out and they all crawled up my arms and it freaked me out and I just slammed the lid on top of them. Well, I didn't realize that I didn't poke holes
Oh,
in the lid
whoops.
of the bin.
Yeah, that'll
I
do it.
killed 1,000 crickets in like 2 days. Well, I didn't realize that before those crickets died, they had all laid babies in the container. Like, because of all the substrate in the bottom, it was just enough time in like good conditions for them to breed before they died. And so they laid babies in the bottom of the container. And I was like, well, I guess we'll just try to keep these ones alive until, and they've started growing out and they've been doing pretty well. So we're just going to keep growing them until they decide to get big enough for my bearded dragons to eat.
I was super creeped out by roaches when I started feeding them. And now it's like, like the dubia roaches, I was super creeped out by them. And now it's like, it's not a big deal. I don't want to touch them, but
I'm not one to like let off the girly shriek. Like, I'm not a lot freaks me out, but a roach crawling up my hand is enough. I scream like a small girl. It's bad.
It's bad. It's hard when I drop, like if one falls on the ground, because it's in my room. So like if I drop one on the ground, then I have to pick it up, and it's just, and they hold on so good that I'll pick it up and I'll try and throw it into something, and it'll stick there, and then I'm like shaking my hand trying to get it off.
I don't know.
Oh, can't even do it, man. Can't even do that. When I first started breeding the roaches, I would make my husband go in there and get them. I refused for a really long time. And then I thought to myself, I was like, if I ever think that I'm going to have a rescue, I need to get over this. Like, or this is not going to work. Like,
yeah.
It's not. So I've gotten over it to the point where, like, I can tong them out. And if they fall on the floor, I can pick them up. But, like, it's getting flung wherever it's getting flung. And that's the end of it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. They got like a constant supply of food. That's cool.
Yeah, I've got super worms that are pupating in my leopard gecko enclosure, and I'm just letting them go. I was like, well, whatever. They want to pupate and start spawning in my leopard gecko enclosure. I'm just gonna let them go.
Sorry, I'm dying in here. Now it's 88 degrees in here, so that's cool.
You would think the sun went down and might start cooling off, but hey.
Not on his side of the planet.
Oh
man,
geez.
It's 4:30 where I'm at. It's still bright and it's fun. It's crazy because it's not even all that sunny. It's like overcast and it's gross outside. This is disgusting.
It's the humidity, man.
I don't live in Florida, and I feel like I live in Florida right now.
Oof.
Shut the door.
Yeah, I thought it was bad down here.
How many animals do you have in total?
9. Well,
okay.
9 reptiles. I also have three huskies and a cat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And the huskies are like 20 times the work of the reptiles.
God.
I had one husky, and it was like the coolest dog I ever had. But man, that was a lot of work.
Them to death. I finally have them trained, like recall trained. So it's so much better. But it's taken me, like, my oldest husky is 9, almost 10 years old. So it's taken me that long. but we're there now, so it's fine.
My husky taught herself how to walk off of a leash.
Oh.
Like, she was crazy fast. And I was sitting in my front yard when I lived in Los Angeles, and someone opened the door of my house, and my dog ran out. And all she did was run outside and curl up under the chair that I was sitting in. And I was tripped out because I thought for sure she was going to take off. And I was like, there's no way I'm catching this dog. And I was just curious. I was like, I wonder if she'd walk next to me. And I got up and just started I lived on like a cul-de-sac. And I just walked around it, and she just walked right next to me, staring at me, like wondering what we were doing. So I just quit using a leash with her everywhere. Well, unless I, really needed to, depending on where I was at. But it was really cool. I'd never been able to teach a dog to walk off of a leash, and she taught herself. So,
I wish. See, mine. There's 3 of them, and the third one is the son of the first 2. So they have major pack mentality. So if one takes off, man, they're gone. They're gone. And my
well, you got to start by walking them individually.
What was that?
You got to start by walking them individually.
Individually, they're perfect angels. They are perfect angels if they're by themselves. If they're together, all bets are gone. Bets. Now, if I let them out my back door, they stay in my yard. They know their boundaries, and they know their call. Like, they know the command. And as soon as I say it, they're right back at that back door. But if they're anywhere outside that backyard, it's all bets are lost. They're gone forever.
That dog was super cool. I could like hold my arms out like I wanted a hug kind of, and she would just run and jump up into my arms. I also didn't teach her that. She just decided to do it when I don't know what I was doing, but my arms were out, and she just jumped up into my arms one day.
That's crazy.
And she would like, there's a lot of the areas where we'd walk in LA, there's like walls, like brick walls that are probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet high, just little like barrier walls. And she would jump up and land on those and then like walk across it while I'm walking. I don't know. I miss that dog.
Dude, Huskies are amazing. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, they're just some of the most amazing dogs I've ever seen in my life. Like,
yeah,
I'll go into a short little backstory because I won't dwell too much on the negative. But I'm 100% disabled. So about 10 years ago, I was pulling into my driveway from work one night. I got hit head on by a drunk driver. I broke both of my ankles and my femur, and it messed me up pretty bad. Last year I went in and I had 2 different brain surgeries, went pretty sketchy, and I almost went septic and had to fight for my life there for a little bit, and had to shave my head a couple times. So I was definitely rocking that bald girl thing there for a little while. So back in February, they actually went in and placed stents in my head. Since then, I've been pretty damn good. I've been pretty damn good since then. But that's back when I decided that I was going to start the rescue. Because once you almost lose your life a handful of times, it's you kind of go big or go home, man. You got to decide what you're going to do with your life, and I had to find some sort of purpose in my life, and I decided that I needed to be a part of something bigger than myself. And so here we are, building from the bottom, working our way up, putting things together slowly but surely. Speaking of building, Rocky's all the way up in his perch up there already. I don't even know if you can see him but he's already made his way up.
Oh, yeah.
Where his basking spot will be eventually. But this is the enclosure behind me that Rocky and Adonis will eventually go in here. Not sure who's going to go on top and who's going to go on bottom, but I was going to make 3 separate enclosures in the bottom here. But I think I've decided that I'm going to cut holes through the bottom 2 here. And I'm going to make the bottom one giant enclosure in the bottom 2. So I think I might actually put Rocky in the bottom and Adonis up top.
And that's just a china cabinet, right?
Yeah.
And then what is it, foam or is it stones?
Let me get out of your way a little bit and back you up a little bit.
Because it looks like slabs of stone that are all...
Yeah, dude, it's just a piece of foam. Like all that down there is just foam.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you just cut it in a couple of inch pieces and just stack it up.
And it goes to show you, you can really like. I know this is something that I feel very personally is the price of enclosures is pretty wild. And as somebody who needs multiple of them, it's definitely a lot to try and wrap your mind around. And the cool thing is, and this is something that people used to do back in the day, you can turn a lot of things into an animal enclosure. And it's also like, you love the animal, and then you get to enjoy this process. Well, you might hate the process, but you would hope that you get to enjoy the process of turning something into some cool enclosure.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah.
Sorry.
It's
when we
it's
when you sent us
equally as
pictures, I was
enjoyable as it is aggravating. I'll give it that. But once you see it, once it gets to this point right here, it gets to the point where it's like, yeah, I did that.
yeah, and then it has that sort of appeal of not just being a black box,
Exactly,
you know.
exactly. And
Like
watching him
I
grow up,
love PVC enclosures, but they're all fairly similar. There's companies that have cooler designs and some really innovative ideas, but like if I go on Instagram and I check out some of the custom stuff people have done with the foam and especially when you start adding live plants and little buggy bugs and stuff, it's like that's what I want to look at. I've always said like I want to walk in my room coming home from work and it's like a forest.
exactly, exactly. And I mean, I've seen so many different variations of things, and I just the sky is the limit. You know what I'm saying? Like you could take just about anything and turn it
Yeah.
into an enclosure now. I mean, there's so many different types of like acrylic and stuff like that you can use for glass now. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so many different options that you have. I mean, why not use them? I did tell Jordan the other day. I said, you know what, man, I'll never do this again. This is the one and only shot. Like I will build
Yeah.
every enclosure differently from now on. Now, I mean, in my case, I'm extra about everything that I do. So when I do everything, I'm very OCD. I'm very it's gonna get done once and it's not gonna get done over again. So it's gonna get
Yeah.
right. So if it takes me, a year to build it and a year to perfect it, that's how it's gonna be. And it has. It's taken me a year to build this. I've been planning this in my head for a year to make sure that every idea was executed exactly the way I wanted to see it in my head. And it has.
I
It's
mean, it looks awesome. I can't wait to see it with
So
when it's like fully complete and there's snake crawling around in it or snakes.
right, exactly. And this is definitely, I've got a TikTok and I've refused to even show any of this to my TikTok at all. So nobody's seen this but you guys. You guys are the one and only ones. So
have
Heck yeah.
you tested it against humidity and
YouTube
heat at
exclusive.
all?
What was that?
Have you tested it against humidity and heat at all?
Not against heat, but I have started humidity testing it. It's pretty dang water resistant. I epoxied the entire thing. Like I went through with like water resistant paint and Flex Seal, and there's several layers of both of those things. And then there's layers of Gorilla Glue and epoxy that coat the entire outside of it too.
Boy, I bet you were high that day.
I just know, like,
I walked down to my husband and I was like, "So, remember when you told me I should wear a mask? Yeah,
Yeah.
You're
You're stumbling. You're like looking over here. He's over there. You're like,
He's like, well, and I was, dude, covered. I had to sit and scrub. Like, I didn't realize, and I wore gloves too because I was like, I'm gonna have to like work it into the cracks and stuff. So let me like glove up, like make sure I'm protected and everything. And I tried my best, dude. I was covered. I had all down my arms, my elbows. I got it under like my armpit somehow. Like
ooh.
I had to take acetone. So like my whole arm is, dude, it was horrible. It was horrible. Worth it, but horrible. Absolutely horrible. Will I ever do it again? No, not a chance.
Yeah.
Not a chance. But completely and totally worth it.
That's why, like, when there's certain people I see who maybe they're on Instagram or they're on YouTube and they do a lot of enclosure builds, and I watch them, and it's so like, it's like mesmerizing to watch them turn just some plywood or whatever, and then you see this end result, and it's this gigantic. Like, people do ones where it's like a room, you know, or they'll do them for fish. Like, I've seen this stuff, and it's so cool to watch, and I'm just like, man, I wish that my head worked that way. Like, I would get so mad I'd punch a hole through it. Because I'm the same way as you.
It
Like,
takes a lot of patience.
yeah, like my OCD would run wild, and I'll take like 3 times as long to do something.
It's something that probably should have been done 2 months ago that I'm still working on, because there's still things that I see and I'm like, no, I have to fix it. The paint that I have, it should have lasted me the whole top of it and the whole bottom of it. And you can see that I didn't even touch the bottom of it yet, because I had to make sure that the top of it was full, because there's going to be a waterfall that runs down the center and the back of it. So I had to make sure that every crevice of the top of that was completely touched.
Yeah.
Or else I risk the structure of the entire piece. So
yeah, bacteria, mold, and then the thing just falling apart too. Yeah,
exactly. So it's a lot, but honestly, from where he came from to where he is now, I mean, whether he ends up in the bottom enclosure or the top enclosure, he deserves it. He deserves it. So
yeah,
he's going to be so happy in whichever one, you know, I decide to put him in. Personally, what are your recommendations, guys, versus bottom versus top, Adonis versus Rocky?
Well, I think the recheck will get a lot more use out of the top one.
It's kind of what I'm thinking too.
I know boas tend to climb too, but as he gets bigger, he's gonna get heavier. He's gonna, you know, I don't know. I like the whole playground idea too. Like, I always have my snakes out just climbing around my house. So there is other ways to provide the exercise.
sure.
Oh yeah, as you guys can see, Rocky's my man. So Rocky's out a whole lot.
I would say just, you know, retic probably grow a lot quicker than a boa, and even though the retic's going to be smaller than the boa, it's going to outgrow that boa real quick lengthwise. And then the activity level, like, even though boas, like my boas love to climb, but they don't do it as rapidly as the retic.
Like, he just climbed up there, but he hasn't moved. Like, he climbed up there, he got comfy, and he's just going to chill there now. And
my retics will do that too, but it's like they climb so much quicker, and they want to touch every inch of the enclosure. You know, they're like,
right,
and it's awesome to watch. It's really cool to watch, but that's one of the things like that really messes with me about seeing other people post retics in like small enclosures, and it's just like knowing, like, just because I have them and I know how crazy active they are, like, I mean, they're lazy sometimes too, or they're asleep probably is what it is. But yeah, they'll use everything you give them. I mean, you could give them something that you think is a huge enclosure for them, and then realize real quick that it could be twice that size, and they'd still use it.
Well, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, even still, these enclosures for both of those snakes will be temporary. Like, this, as stupid as that sounds, you know, to do all that work for a temporary enclosure, this will be a temporary enclosure for them. Eventually, both of them are going to get floor-to-ceiling walk-in enclosures. And
it doesn't sound stupid at all. It sounds like that sounds great. You know, I think that I can understand again, you know, it's hard to, people complain about breeders and keepers being held to different standards, but if you have 50 or 100 snakes versus 5, it's much harder to give them what you would give 5. And I don't think it sounds dumb at all. You know, we all do what we can in the time, and I think that the people that I'm closest with, we all wish we could do better, and we're all trying to do better over time and give more. And I mean, if I had my way, every snake I have would have like a bedroom,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
But
my
I'm
husband said
poor.
You know,
my husband said no. I tried.
Yeah,
I would have a mainland, honestly. Like if my body wasn't what it was, and I know my limitations. That's why a dwarf retic is my option. Um, I know my limitations, and I know that with my body structure and my health the way it is, that I wouldn't have the capacity to handle a snake that big. Um, Not that I don't have the know-how, the capability, or the capacity to. I just physically would not be able to maintain that animal.
sure.
Um,
I mean, it's a full blown exercise. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", and I'm not small.
right.
And my mainland is like 8 foot, 8.5 foot, probably, if I had to guess. I don't measure any of my snakes. But I've held some that are in the 15, 16 foot range, 14 foot, and it doesn't seem like much until it does, and then you're like covered in sweat because you've been holding
Absolutely.
the snake for a half an hour, and it's like it's a workout, man. If you watch Tim's videos too, like
Oh
I know
yeah.
Tim's here. If you
hmm
watch him holding big
Oh yeah.
snakes, man, like you can tell, like
Dude, more
that
power
the
to
heat
it. I have a
the heat
lot of
starts
respect.
building up real quick. You start realizing how warm it really is, and you're out of breath. You
That's
realize you
why I
shouldn't have
asked him
skipped out
about
on
his heart rate
cardio.
the other day. Like, especially with that Sri Lankan, man. That Sri Lankan is spicy.
Yeah,
Spicy. But yeah,
pretty
no,
snake style, that's
just with
for
those
sure.
retics alone, though, I could imagine just trying to just work with them, and he does such a great job too. But trying to work with something like that with the limitations that I have. Now, would I absolutely love to go hang out with Tim and his retics? Absolutely. Would I own one myself? No, because I know the limitations that I have. And that's the biggest thing that I stress to anybody that comes to me that talks about should I get this or should I do that or what do you recommend I do? Know your limitations.
yeah.
Know what you
Well, now
cannot handle.
let's
I
let's
have
just get something
9
straight right
reptiles
now.
here. I have probably 12 empty enclosures in my basement right now.
Dang, send one of those to me. I need one.
What size you need, Chad? What's up? But I've got a whole bunch of empty enclosures in my basement right now that are perfectly fine for any rescue that needs to come in. Um, I have space for them if they need to come here. I have the capacity to take care of them if they need to be here. If there is a special case that I feel like I need to take on, I absolutely will. Um, right now, I have other focuses that need to be focused on in order to make sure that our foundation is set up the way that it needs to be in order to build properly. Because you can build all you want to, but if you don't build the right way, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure from the jump.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and so I don't want to set myself up for failure. I've seen so many people do it. I've seen so many people get in over their head and end up neglecting the rescues that they take in. I've seen so many people, end up in hoarding situations because they just take. It's like they can't say no. I've seen way too many people see nothing but dollar signs. And I don't want to end up in any one of those 3 situations. And I have several people that I've already told, listen, if you ever see me walk down any of the 3 of those roads, like you need to come and we need to have words because I don't want to end up like any of those people. I have a lot of good people in my corner and a lot of really fantastic support that I've come to find along the way. And I didn't think that I could do this. And a lot of you guys have given me the confidence to not only get on here and talk and chill with you guys, but to actually do the damn thing. So
hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna mute my mic. I gotta step outside. I'm
You're
dying
good.
right. I don't know if you can see all of this
Oh
sweat
my
on
god.
my. It's. I'm dying in here.
You're
Ugh.
fine.
Nice.
Go do what you gotta do. Go
I'll be
breathe.
back in a second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, Russ. You're good.
Okay. Um, so you already live in North Carolina.
Yeah.
If I lived in North Carolina, you best believe I'd be over at Tim's quite a bit.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that.
he did
I
a
mean,
live
for me, it's like
last night.
14 hours.
Yeah, he lives like an hour from me. So
You got to get on that.
I know. We do. He's done quite a few educational programs around here. So we're gonna work on trying to get me out to one of the educational programs. I think there's
Oh, you froze again.
there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. But a lot of like Durham, I think, is like 2.5 or 3 hours from me. So it's just a little bit of a hike for me to drive all that way. Um,
I mean, maybe,
it
but
just
if
depends
it's
on
what
what's
you
going
love,
on. Now we're gonna make it happen here soon. There's a lot going on towards the end of this year for me personally. So hopefully towards the beginning of next year we can start really getting some stuff worked out and try to get some collaborations going on because I would love to get out there and hang out with Tim. Tim, I have a whole lot of respect for that guy. So would love to get out there and meet
yeah.
Tim.
And it's not hard to understand why, right?
Yeah, he's
He's
a
a
great
great
guy.
dude.
He's a great dude.
All right. So now with your rescue, do you do any local pickups and relocations for people?
Not yet. Most of the time when people ask me to do that, they ask me to relocate venomous down here.
And you have to
And
get a
I don't
permit.
quite have the skill set for that yet. There's somebody in the educational group down here that is looking into a class for all of us to go take. So I am very, very interested in doing that. I will not go relocate yet just because I don't have the experience doing that. So I don't want to go mess around with anything that I have no business messing around with. Because that just sounds like a really bad case of fuck around and find out that I don't want to be involved with. So.
I mean, yeah, there could be for sure. I know there's times when me and my mom struggled when I was a kid, especially with the tortoises, because, some of them you just can't move like that. Like, yeah,
Right.
okay, I can take it out of your yard, but there's a high chance that it's gonna come back.
Right. Right.
Like,
Exactly.
it's better off you just give it a little bit of food and let it do its thing, right? It's not gonna hurt you.
Right. We have a group of hawks that circles our house. I'm like I'm like a wannabe Snow White. So I keep telling my husband, I'm like, I've got plenty of rodents in the house. I'm just gonna go defrost one really quick, right? And I'm gonna get a falconer's glove and I'm just gonna stand outside and wave the rat around. Eventually one's gonna come, I swear. He's like,
I
yeah,
mean, it
until one
might.
pecks your eye out.
It might. There was that video going around recently where that lady was mowing her lawn and the hawk dropped the snake on her. So she got bit and wrapped by the snake, and then the hawk came down over 3 times to get the snake. So she got all tore up from the hawk too.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Falconry would be so cool, man. I don't think I would want to like own some kind of bird of prey just because I
No.
would rather it be out in the wild doing its thing. But it's so
Absolutely.
cool. Some of those birds are incredible to watch.
I think I might build a bat roost out back too. Just
So
because
Bats
we've
are
got
so
so
cool.
many
once
bats out back, man. And I think I'm gonna build once we get everything settled, I'm gonna build a bat roost out back because I'm like obsessed.
once things settle down with all my court proceedings and life kind of returns to normal, I am 100% going to volunteer for the Pennsylvania Bat Rescue. They're not
Yes.
too far from me. I've reached out to them a few times now, and they can get me some good hands-on training with the bats, which outside of reptiles, I love bats. Right?
Yes.
Bats are
Dude,
one
they're
thing that
flying puppies. Like, how can you not love bats?
I've just
Like,
I've
I don't know.
always been I've always been a fan. I mean, I remember being like 9 or 10, and my mom found one on a payphone one day, and it was an Easter Sunday because she was out getting micro machines for my Easter eggs, and she brought it home, and of course it got out in the house, and we had 9 dogs and 11 cats at the time, and it was quite a mess for a little bit, but we we ended up getting it out into the bat house out back, and it stuck around for quite a few years before we stopped seeing it.
That's
But
great. We used to get them down in our chimneys. And my mom, dude, I swear, my mom, I don't know where I must have been adopted, y'all, because like my mom was terrified of everything, and I'm gonna die petting something that I know I shouldn't.
yeah,
I
Sure.
mean, that's just gonna be how
That's,
it is. But we
that's
used to
why
get
I
them
don't
into
keep
our
cobras.
chimney.
that's a real thing
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel the same way.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Does he have
It'd
a
be awesome to have a cobra. Oh yeah, he's got a big old.
mustache?
I need to change his
His
name to
head's
like
too
Sir
big.
Bartlesby or like
Yeah.
Jasper Abernathy or
Oh
something
my
like.
gosh. Yes. Jasper
Hold on,
Abernathy.
bring your little face over here, dude.
Hi.
And mustache.
Boop. Oh my god.
Yeah, he looks like English royalty of some kind. He needs like
Yes,
a monocle, a top hat, a distinguished gentleman name,
I love him.
bad set
Yeah.
of teeth.
Oh, I can't wait until my house is full of snakes again. Not that I don't love my. Okay, hold on. I have to show you Kiwi. He was my first ever surrender. Hold on. He's beautiful.
Why, thank you. I'm sure he appreciates the compliment. He's heavy too. He's like smaller than I have snakes that are like way bigger, or well, not way bigger, but I mean I have snakes that are bigger, and he's so like
He's just gonna chill
his
up there and
boas are
not
so
move for a little while. But here's my Kiwi.
chin scratch.
Hey, buddy.
I like that bearded dragons just have this like perpetual angry look on their face. They just look like they're grumpy.
There we go. He's just
say
beautiful.
so.
I don't know what kind of like bearded dragon he is, but he was our first ever surrender. I'm not good with bearded dragon morphs. They're just bearded dragons, but
Yeah.
he's just beautiful. He's like red.
I didn't even know there was bearded dragon morphs until a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I just thought they were all the same.
And he's
Looks
got
pretty
like
normal.
blue eyes. Oh, I'm sorry,
Maybe
buddy.
a little more blue, but
Then I'll go to an expo and people will be talking to me. Oh yeah, this is a this and that, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I feel the same way when I talk to friends of mine at expos and they have ball pythons and they're telling me that it's a leather jacket, blue starfish,
peanut butter and jelly.
Why do you think
peanut
they're
butter
letting
and
you
jelly,
rescue him?
het for paper bag and original Skittles flavor or something, and I just don't understand. There's so much to follow. I just can't.
Exactly. This is exactly why I went into rescuing, man, because I can't keep up. I understand how it works. I just don't care.
Yeah.
Hey, bud, I know you can see him. I'll go put you back. I'm sorry.
I just figured since I'm so busy like lately that I was like, I have some time where I can hold snakes right now, so I might as well do that. Got to take it where I can get it.
Yeah, you're running around like a nut, dude.
Man,
For sure.
unfortunately, I'm sweating, so it's like weird for the snakes to try and move around on me.
Is your bearded dragon afraid of your snakes? No.
No,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
say because
care.
mine, like, he runs right up to that cage and is like, "Come on, let's go."
It's so funny because I temperament tested Kiwi with everything I possibly could Because again, Kiwi's such a friendly dude, and he's so beautiful that like we're gonna let him be an ambassador also. Because I mean, how cool is a red and blue, like blue-eyed bearded dragon? So we're gonna let him be an ambassador also. So I made sure that like if there was a snake next to him, he wasn't gonna lose it.
Yeah.
If there was, another bearded dragon next to him, he wasn't gonna absolutely lose it. He does bob a little bit, but he doesn't completely lose his shit. He's a very even-tempered, bearded dragon for the most part. I don't know if you guys have seen the guy on TikTok that lets his iguana eat blueberries out of his mouth.
Yeah.
The guy.
I've never seen anything on TikTok.
Oh, Chad.
I mean,
Well,
I
I'm
saw
lying.
it on
Actually,
Instagram, but
people will send me like stuff and it'll let me watch them, but I've never went on there and looked for anything. I feel like I've seen that though.
Kill me. Well,
there's a guy with a green iguana, I think it is, and this guy will be like eating food, and his iguana will come up and he'll like stick it with a fork and like feed it to his iguana, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. So Kiwi won't let me eat blueberries, man. It's a thing. It is a thing. So now it's gotten to the point where like I've now taught him to do that, and so I can go to educational events with little kids and let my bearded dragon eat blueberries out of my mouth. And so I mean, what's a party without party tricks? So
sure.
I have Rocky almost trained to give me Eskimo kisses now. So by the time he's like, full grown, I can scare the crap out of full-grown adults by letting my...
The only thing my snakes are trained to do is climb on my face. They do this all the time.
They'll straight up hover right in front of me and just... Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's just because he did it the first time and I just kind of looked at him so surprised. And he just looked at me and he was like, oh, I guess that's a good thing. And so he just kept doing it.
I guess we're okay with this, huh?
Yeah. So he just kept doing it. And he knows that I don't like it when he climbs in my glasses because he's big enough now where I'm afraid he's going to snap them. And so I don't like it when he does that. So he either climbs on my head now or he'll just come and he'll touch my nose with his nose.
This guy's probably 4.5 feet long, maybe. And I swear he weighs more than my 8.5 foot retic.
I believe that.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. But he's like, when I hold him, I notice it.
He is beautiful.
He also gets me in handcuffs, and he has like the strongest grip. It's crazy.
And going like he was my first boa, and I'd wanted a boa since I was 5 years old with a broken arm. You know what I'm saying? So I've wanted a boa my entire life, and so he was the first one I ever got. In the grip when he first wrapped around me for the first time, I was like, holy crap, because I've been so used to the ball pythons, and the last boa I held was when I was 5 years old. So I had no recollection of that grip. And so when he gripped me for the first time, it kind of like made my heart race a little bit. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, duh. Like constrictor, boa constrictor. Like he just needs to hold on to me. And ever since I let my guard down with him and trusted him, man, he's been my best friend. That's my comfort blanket. So I love him to death. I didn't think I could love the snake as much as I love that snake.
That's how I feel with my mainland. He was the first snake I got getting back into reptiles since I was a kid, and which is generally not what you would think your first snake would be. But I feel the exact same way. I always tell people that snake's my best friend. Like I like that snake more than anybody.
Facts. I mean, that's how I feel about Rocky too, man. I mean, for real. I could take that snake anywhere and be happy. Be perfectly like anything could happen. If I had that snake with me, I'm happy. Like I don't know. A relationship between a boa is just something different. I don't know why. There's something different about a boa.
I think just building an animal or a relationship with an animal, like I feel that way with all of my snakes on some level or another. But with with like a mainland retic, you build this like relationship, and it's kind of like this weird primal feeling. It's not something that a lot of people like people outside of reptiles
Oh,
wouldn't
absolutely.
understand if you tried to explain to them why it is as cool as it is.
Oh yeah, I can't. I mean, Adonis will be my first ever retic. I've never owned any retic species ever, and every day that it gets closer, I get more excited. And for all of you that don't know, I still have yet to see a picture of Adonis. I do not know what he looks like.
Is that intentional?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to be completely unbiased with the decision with Adonis, because the whole point of Adonis was for him to be an ambassador species. Because I've never owned any sort of retic, I wanted Jordan to pick. I wanted him to see the temperament. I wanted him to see, the feeding response. I wanted him to see, how this animal, moved, how it acted, how it responded to him. I wanted him to choose. I felt like that was the best way to go about it. Because if it were up to me, you know how I'm going to choose. I'm going to be, that one's the prettiest. I like that one, you know.
Sure. I did the same thing with my Argentine boa. I live close to Brian Cusco, and he did like a joint little boa pairing with a friend of his, and had 3 babies. And I was like, well, as soon as he mentioned that he had them, I was like, I want one. Just let me know when, and I can get it. I have to get one. And I told him the same thing. I was like, just pick it out for me. They're all beautiful. I'll take, Oh, hey, I remember that guy. He looks like he's grown a little bit, for sure.
I mean, he's shed twice since May, so.
He's so cute. You make me want to go get Hagrid, but I don't feel like putting Rocky back in his enclosure right now.
So you said you had a baby hognose. How baby is your baby?
Oh, let me go put Rocky up. Hold on. Come here, bud.
Because this guy's a baby to me, and he's 2, right?
Yeah.
2?
He is 2. And he's still tiny. Dude, when I went to Pomona, I don't even know when the hell this was. I'm so tired, but was 2 weeks ago, a week ago, whatever. When I went to Pomona, there was some baby, like real baby hognoses, like as small as you would make them available, and they are so tiny. It is mind blowing. They're like as thick as like a shoelace, and they look like they're like maybe this long. I don't know. They're so small, and they still have the goofiest attitudes.
Yeah.
They don't at all realize how small they are. They think that they're like this guy's size or something.
But I still don't understand how they can survive in the wild.
No, me neither.
It's like a White's tree frog. They just seem so stupid.
They're just. How do you get fed? Like, how do you eat food? Because when I'm trying to hand you your food, you don't even realize that it's food.
Come on, focus. There you go. My teeny tiny.
Well, I would look, but I can't see.
He is little.
Teeny tiny little boop noodle.
Is he super conda?
Yeah. No, he's just a conda.
Just a conda. Oh, yeah, I see the dots now.
You have a black belly? Oh, that's so cool.
A little bit of checker.
There you go. That's a belly. Damn,
little pink and red spotted belly. I know. This backwards camera thing is confusing me.
It is. Hi, little boop snoot. Hi, little
boop. They have the funniest attitudes. They really do.
Hi. He is the friendliest little baby snake I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
He like, if you open his lid, he will come out and say hi. Like, he pops his head out and he'll try to come out and hang out with you.
Yeah, he used to do that with me.
I love
him. He likes to hiss.
Yeah, and he'll huff and he'll like strike back. He'll like strike up in the air and fall backwards and stuff. It's
They're
ridiculous.
hilarious. He's the best
They have like the biggest personalities. I feel like, and they're so tiny.
Oh, I know. I know.
I don't know, man. I keep eyeing up these Easterns though, and I'll tell you, the more and more I see them, the more and more I want them.
Speaking of Easterns, I've actually started a frozen thawed frog breeding project too, because nobody does that. So,
Well, I know
There
a
you
couple
go.
of people that are working on it.
everybody's trying. Not a lot of people are having a lot of like uber success enough to make a whole lot of money doing it, but
Yeah,
harder than it seems.
there's other species too. Like, I mean, I think dragon snakes are one of the coolest looking snakes. Period. And it's just the diet. You know. Well, I mean, I know I don't know anyone who keeps them personally, but I keep hearing that they're really hard to keep alive and just a complicated animal to keep. Period. But it's the diet that would keep me away from it. I don't want to have to breed little tiny fish and frogs and tadpoles and things to try and feed a snake.
Right.
Because
See,
then you have to have like a bunch of pets to feed your one pet. Like,
yeah, I love it though.
I guess I can't be too picky because this guy eats hoppers, and then occasionally I'll give him a frog leg, and my other girl eats frog legs all the time, which I'd like to be able to try some whole frog. You know, I was talking to some people about that, and there's definite benefits to it,
sure.
but the the type of frogs that I'm getting from her area are enormous. So, like even the frog legs, I cut the frog legs into 5 pieces, and that's 5 meals for her because she's so
Right.
Damn.
tiny.
Yeah, I mean, I figured I would start with some American toads. No, these ones are southern. These ones are southern toads. So we're just growing them up right now to see if we can breed them. I don't know if it's possible to breed them or not, or how, or what we're doing. We have no idea what we're doing, but we're trying.
So now, have you looked into the toxicology of any of that?
I've my breeder that I got Hagrid from. He's the one that I've been talking to about all this. He uses the southern toads specifically for his hog noses to work with his hog noses. So that's what I went with. Just because it's a safer bet to use the southern toads. Just because. Oh my God! Come here. Ah, not the crevice! Not the crevice! They're easier to come by where I am. And if I can field collect and save myself some money, that's kind of what my thought process was about that. So
What about parasites from field collecting?
What was that?
What about parasites from field collecting?
That was what I was about to say. The biggest thing you have to worry about with field collecting is worms. So they actually just went through their second round of flagell. So they've just been dewormed for the second time now. Which their second round of dewormer, I'm now not seeing any evidence of worms. I will probably run one more round just to be absolutely sure that they are completely wormed. Now, I won't sell anybody a live frog ever, but that's just how I feel about it personally. That's just my own personal opinion. And it's probably... Go ahead.
We sure have come a long ways from when I was a kid in the 90s, and we'd just go catch garter snakes, bring them home, and put them in little tiny fish tanks in our bedroom with sand. Yeah. I don't know what we used for heat if it wasn't a heat rock. I remember heat rocks. I remember using those, but I don't think there was anything else.
We put them in our windows. That's what we did. We put them in our windows, and we were like, "That's fine."
Mine did not heated them at all. Actually,
days we put them back outside. I mean,
I kept lots of eastern garters as a kid.
And find it there. But yeah, so I mean, my kids are actually the ones that caught them for me. Surprisingly enough, so this is actually my kids' project. I told them what type of toads I needed. I showed them pictures, and we spent a whole weekend searching, hand and foot. We hiked, I mean, trails for days in search. And so we have 10 teeny tiny little itty bitty southern toads that we're growing
That's
out.
pretty
If it
cool.
works, it works. If not, then they have 10 pet toads that they're going to have to take care of for the rest of their lives.
There you go.
Either way, it was a good project for my kids to work on and kind of experience and watch them grow up and stuff. They catch fruit flies to feed to the toads, so now my whole basement is full of fruit flies. It's lovely. It's
It just means you'll
fantastic.
have more house spiders.
What was that?
Yeah.
It just means you'll have more house spiders. It's not a big deal.
Well,
I have them everywhere.
it's one of those things where it attracts jumping spiders too, and I'm not so mad at that. Like
Yeah.
I adore jumping spiders, and every time I
They're
find
so
one,
cool.
I just play with it for like 20 minutes and then I send it on its way. So,
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that. And it
Speaking of
attracts
spiders, I went to feed my tarantula yesterday, and he is big compared to. He was so tiny when I
Yeah?
got him, and now he's like this big. And I'm not a big spider person, but he's so cool looking. Looks like a little pumpkin.
So,
I'm
I mean,
working
I
on
guess
it.
at this point, he's just yours forever now.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything. That's a whole other thing. I don't know. Mine now. I don't even know if it's a he or a she or how to figure it out. But
Yeah, that is
I'm
true.
working on the whole tarantula thing, man. I'm making progress. I'm trying.
I
Yeah.
really want to get another one. I had one and did something dumb without really thinking it through, and it got too dry.
Oh no.
I
Listen,
wanted it.
it
I wanted
happens.
it. I wanted it in a safe spot away from where the kid would knock it over, and
Mm.
I accidentally put it directly in front of the heat vent. Not directly, but like,
Yeah. So dried the thing out.
yeah.
At least you poke holes in your cricket containers.
Mine came with holes. I didn't have to put them in it.
I mean,
I
so
feel like a lot of time they come in that little plastic circle thing, right?
yeah, I mean, I just got a huge bin and I tossed them in there, and I was like, all right, there's your grave, I guess. Oh man, poor crickets. I felt so bad too. I didn't think I could ever be that upset about some crickets, but there we were, upset about
Hey,
crickets.
sometimes it's heartbreaking, man. I've had a couple colonies crash on me and, couldn't figure out why.
It sucks. Bug breeding, like you think, oh man, how hard is it to breed some bugs? Well, super worms, dang it, you've got to like put them in their own cups and put them in the
Yep.
dark and wait for them to pupate, and most of them die anyway. And
Well, I heard a lot of people use those sewing boxes, right?
yeah,
Like those thread boxes, because you could keep them all separate but put them all in one container.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I've used a lot of different things at this point, and some of them pupate and some of them don't. It's just the circle of life. Sometimes it
Mhm.
works, sometimes it doesn't. All my mealworms seem to like pupate no problem, but they're easy. They're not really that complicated. It's the hornworms and the superworms that get a little complicated. The hornworms aren't complicated until they hatch. Once they hatch and they're babies, they're just really fragile. And if they get too moist, they die. If they get too dry, they die. If they, eat too little, they die. If they eat too much, they die. So when
Yeah.
they're little babies, it's hard, but as soon as they get to a certain point, they're perfectly fine.
There's so many things that
Can
we
you just
take for
like
granted.
teleport? Like I just
Right.
want you just arms. Like, place it in my hand.
The snake?
Yes.
Oh, you can't have her. I love her too much.
Please. Just send her to me.
Definitely my favorite locality
she's
boa.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
I think
it's a trip because she's.
think
Oh,
she's
you have
definitely-
Hagrid. Yeah, you have Hagrid, and I have Nagini.
You have who?
Nagini.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
She's definitely my favorite. Like, I love her.
yeah, she's pretty incredible, and it's cool because they start out like mostly like a gray, like a dark grayish color with black saddles, and then now she's not even 2. She'll be 2 in December, and she's like black. She's got a black tail. Like they're so cool. I would say everybody needs an Argentine boa, but I hope everybody doesn't get one because then it'll just be the next thing. Everybody don't get an Argentine boa. You guys don't want one.
Right. I feel that.
Oh yeah, I've done basically the same thing. I got crickets one day. I was at work and I used to work like right next to Petco, which I don't buy feeders from Petco anymore, but I did then. That was like when I was first getting back into reptiles. I bought crickets. They were in a plastic bag that I put in my backpack at work and worked for hours. And then obviously the crickets weren't doing great. When I got home to feed them to my geckos, I was like, oh, guess I'm getting more crickets.
A friend of mine, she lives in Arizona, and she texted me the other day, and she was like, so, accidentally left my mice in the car.
Oh, jeez.
I was
That'll do
like,
it.
that's not good. That's not good at all.
Oven baked mice.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I was like, that probably smells lovely in the morning.
So what's your sort of plans for the future? Like, where I know you said you're working on like kind of getting the groundwork and stuff set up, but do you want to talk about any like what's the process like? Because I mean, I keep reptiles, and it's different for people who are just keep some reptiles versus breeders versus rescues. So I'm just kind of interested, like what's the whole process like? Like what all goes into this?
So most rescues go the 501c3 route. However, I've decided not to. I feel like they hand out 501c3s to anybody with the paperwork these days, and a lot of those 501c3s have very, very, very horrible reputations at this point.
So
I don't really want to be associated with it.
for those that don't know, 501c3 is nonprofit, correct?
Yes, a 501c3 is a nonprofit or a charitable organization. In the reptile community, unfortunately, a lot of people have put very, very bad names on 501c3s and have used that charitable status for personal gain. And I just really don't want to go down that route. Eventually, hopefully early next year, I'm going to put in for my LLC instead. So I'm going to make this an actual business. Get my business license and all that kind of stuff officially squared away. At that point, I'll go and I'll file the proper insurance. That's the only reason I haven't gone into my education programs yet. I have to file the proper insurance for things like that to make sure that if there is ever any incident for whatever reason, that I have the proper insurance. That's another thing that a lot of these people don't do. I talked to a lady, I don't remember where she's from off the top of my head, that runs another rescue. It's just said she's the only one in the state that does reptile education that does have insurance. And that should be an industry standard.
Which is crazy because you would think that would be like the first thing you would want to do before you took animals out of your house around other people.
Exactly. Not only for other people's safety, but for your safety and the safety and well-being of your animals.
For sure.
So I want to make sure that that's squared away before I do anything. I want to make sure that I have, before I get to the point where I start taking in any rescues, the house that I currently am in, we are unsure if Jordan, we're unsure if we're going to actually stay at this property permanently or if we're going to move. We're trying to make that decision within the next year or so. So we're trying to figure out whether we're going to build within this community, or if we're going to relocate and find, somewhere else to kind of start over, and build within that community elsewhere. That's something that we're still kind of on the fence about, that we're not sure of yet. The house that we're in currently, it needs a lot of work. When I got into my accident, I bought this house. The only thing that's really keeping here is that it is paid off. So it's kind of financially irresponsible for us to move. So we'll probably stay here, which would just require a lot of really, really hard work. So that's kind of, if we move, then less actual physical labor goes into it. If we don't move, then less money goes into it. So either way, it's probably going to be a lot of money, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of like a catch-22. So we're just trying to make sure that we make the right financial decision for us and our future right now. And that's a really hard one. Adulting is hard.
Yeah, it is. I'm horrible at it. I'm trying to learn still.
Same. So we're trying to make sure that, we kind of do the right thing for us and our future right now. And then once we make that decision, it's just, building bigger enclosures, building like stacked enclosures. So more space to be able to actually take in rescues and have the space to put them in enough room. Because like I said, I've got plenty of enclosures, but I don't want to stick a freaking bearded dragon in a 20-gallon. You know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that we've got the adequate space and enough enclosures to house whatever happens to walk through my door. Because I could get anything from obviously an iguana to, a ball python, and everything in between. So I want to make sure that we have a foundation set so that whatever walks through my door, I have the capacity for. And that's kind of the most important. And then the other thing that I want to stress is a vet fund. I want to make sure that I have at least $1,000 in the bank. That's something that's very important to me. I will not take in another surrender until I have $1,000 in my bank account. It just won't do it.
I feel like even that's kind of low.
Yeah, and it is.
Right?
It is. Most minor things with my local vet, partaining reptiles, will cost me between $200 and $300. So at least $1,000 gives me a baseline. And then we just build from there. I mean, just build all of our side businesses. We're going to get into rodent breeding, frozen thawed rodents. Eventually, we're going to build chicken coops and quail coops. So we'll do frozen thawed chicks and frozen thawed quail eventually also. I mean, just building our side hustles, building our side businesses, making sure that we can adequately support our, main goals. And then eventually, I want to get greenhouses built, the whole 9 yards, like building something that's self-sustainable. So that even during the winter, I have somewhere that I can go out back and get my produce for, all my produce eaters. So that I'm not, first of all, it's going to be way healthier for the animals I keep to grow it myself. And 2, it's going to be way cheaper and way more affordable for me to do that. I already have a garden growing out front. It's my first attempt at a garden, guys. So let's just say it's kind of hit or miss.
It's a learning process.
Yeah.
So what kind of plants are you growing in this garden?
I kind of just chucked a bunch of seeds out there and just wanted to see what would grow where. So at the beginning of the season, we grew a bunch of greens, so collards, mustards, the whole 9. anywhere from collard greens to kale and everything in between. And then let's see, green beans, zucchini, cucumbers, just kind of carrots, just kind of like a little bit of everything, just to see what would grow where. And then next year, I'm going to plan everything a little better and try to plant everything with more intent. This year, I just kind of.
I would suggest some Rose of Sharon and a couple of the other wildflowers, dandelions and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I've got dandelions growing out there too. Forgot about those.
Yeah.
And roses.
Especially like I know my Beardy loves Rose of Sharon.
Oh, and
it's something
Do the dragons eat flowers?
Oh yeah, a lot of the air
This is news to me.
flowers.
Oh,
That's
and
cool.
my iguana loves hibiscus, man. My iguana will
Hibiscus is a good
like
one too.
nobody's business. He loves it. It's his favorite thing. So
I never knew that they would eat that stuff
out there too. And
I've seen like turtles eat clovers and things like that. And,
yep.
But I didn't know that like beardies and things like that would eat. I mean, there's a lot I don't know, but you learn something new every day.
Vary their diet too.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Like I grow. I'm trying to grow as much as possible. Like my freezer right now, my husband's gotta love this. He loves it so much. My freezer is full of rodents and little Tupperware containers full of produce from my garden right now. I have a zucchini that's the size of a small child on my counter, and it's there because I don't know where to put it right now. I have no room for it. So it's going well. I just have to be a little more organized about things and a little more purposeful next year. We're gonna eventually get a greenhouse going and all sorts of good stuff. When we start to build floor to ceiling enclosures, we're going to build outdoor enclosures that attach to those. So an indoor enclosure through a window and the outdoor enclosure built on the outside of the window. And then grow some fruit trees inside those enclosures also. Because those will have like plexi around the outside, kind of greenhouse type situations. So I have a mango tree growing right now that I started just to see if it would grow. And it did. Oddly enough, it grew very well. So I have a mango tree started. I think next year I'm going to buy a couple apple trees, plant some apple trees. If we decide to stay in this property, I'll plant some apple trees. So I want to make this to where we're the one rescue who doesn't have to ask for donations. We kind of just do it on our own, and we do it for the love of the game, you know, for the love of the animals and for the respect we have for them, and just keep doing it until we can't anymore. I talked to my husband earlier, and because of Tori, our iguana, and what he's been through, we've decided to kind of put a focus on iguanas. Actually, we started this rescue with a no iguana rule, because rescue iguanas are difficult, because you never know what they went through before they came to you, and you never know what temperament you're going to get when they get to you. And Tori has changed my perception on that massively. Tori came to me willing to eat me alive. He was never handled. He was. I'll actually show you. He was kept in that for the first 2 years of his life.
Oh my God.
I would pull him out, but this would probably scare the living crap out of him. If you go on my TikTok, you'll see a bunch, or my Instagram, you'll see a bunch of videos and pictures of him. But he was incredibly stunted. He is not nearly as big as he should be for 2 years old. His fingers and his toes are all bent back and curled back and stuff. He's doing fantastic now. He's just come around. He's come so far. He'll climb up on my shoulder and kind of curl up on my shoulder now. You know, like he lets me kind of hold on to him, let me rub right behind his neck and rub on his head and stuff. Like he yeah, Brandy. Yeah, there was a no iguana rule. Hey, but rules are meant to be broken. They are very much so meant to be broken.
I've been doing it my whole life.
I don't know about that, man. Because if I break
So
my no venomous rule, we're gonna have problems.
right,
Yeah, your
right.
problem is going to be that I'm going to be taking like week or two long trips out to your house every chance I get, so I can. I
Yeah.
just want to man, venomous snakes are so incredible. I obviously that was a joke. I wouldn't be poking venomous snakes. I'm joking,
I
but
just need to boop
I
and
feel
snoop one
it's it's
time.
weird that I feel like I have to clarify that I'm joking about poking a venomous snake, but I will. I'm not
There's
going to
that
do
one
that.
No,
person,
you
yeah.
should because many people don't, and then bites happen.
They're incredible though. Yeah, I could I won't, but I could keep nothing but venomous snakes and be just. I mean, the
Oh,
colors
absolutely.
and the patterns are just mind blowing. And they're incredible. But the problem is it's the same thing. You get a bunch of dummies that keep them, and then bad things happen.
It makes me mad.
Yeah.
Venomous snakes make me mad. They're the only species of reptiles that just make me mad because they're the most beautiful species of reptiles, and I can't have one.
Yeah,
It just makes
I
me
mean,
mad.
I can theoretically I could own
I
native
could.
rattlesnakes, but I don't because I just know how I am. Like, even if I go into this with the intention to be, intelligent and safe about everything, I'm gonna want to touch them. And I'm not saying like reach my hands in and pull it out, but I'm
No, but
gonna want to touch it.
free
And
handle
I like
and
to hold my snakes, and I just it doesn't mean that I'm gonna freehand a 10+ foot king cobra. I'm gonna free handle it in my bedroom with my friends or family in the house. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, you don't want Indian cobras hanging off your fingers like the professionals. I had to read that out loud. Sorry. Yeah, no, that's the thing. You got to be
Uh,
smart about it.
I was trying to leave that out,
someone
but
needed to say
you
Yeah,
it.
know,
you get too many people doing stupid things, and it's a shame because I mean, I guess since we're on the topic, I feel that way with retics sometimes. I love retics; they're my favorite snakes. There's really nothing that I've ever experienced that's like that. Maybe Eastern indigos, they have that same crazy intelligence level. You see their eyes and their heads
That's
moving,
another one on my bucket list, man.
and
Honestly,
cobras,
to do.
But it's the same thing. People do the same thing with retics that they do with hots. They have no idea what they're getting into, and then they do dumb things, and sometimes dumb things happen because of it, or bad things happen. I mean, and then they post it all over social media. So I
Look
don't
at
know.
this stupid thing I
well,
just
listen,
did.
not to knock my own state or anything, but there are places in the world where you can go and buy any venomous you want, and you don't need anything but money,
Welcome
right?
to my state, also, where in most counties you can do the same. Our state,
As
it's
long
not a
as it's
state
not,
regulation; it's a county by county regulation.
yeah. See,
Yeah, and the
yeah,
shame is that, and I say this a lot about people. Like, I've said it about Tim before, and he's here. And the people who really do things well, and they really show the best forms of content. Like, the things they show are educational, they're positive, but they're showing the real life situation. No bullshit. No, let me make this snake angry and rile it up, and then take pictures and videos of that and show that. Like, the people who are doing the best things, they're not the ones who get the most attention.
Well,
It's those
mhm.
exactly.
showboaty, loud noises, boisterous, crazy. That's what gets the most attention, and it's a shame because that's why things happen the way that they do.
Yep.
And it's the same with venomous. There's really excellent venomous keepers, people who have been doing it for I don't God 30 years more, and it's really awesome to see the stuff that they do. But they do it more quietly. They're not posting a video every day of them doing something that they maybe shouldn't be doing. They're
Right.
just taking pictures and videos safely of their animals, and it doesn't get the sort of same attention, which is a shame.
It is
Well,
a shame, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're keeping venomous and you're doing it right, it is a boring job. right?
Yeah.
I feel like everybody that I've heard interviewed on venomous shows and stuff will tell you the same thing, right? If it's exciting, then there's something wrong with it, and you know, I guess that's why we keep what we keep because I love being able to have my boas out or my retics, you know.
Well, exactly. I mean, my husband would sit down and watch all the venomous YouTubers with me all the time, and he'd get so frustrated. He'd look at me and he'd get like almost angry, and he'd be like, "What is the point? What is the point
Right.
of that? What's the point of
You know
keeping?"
what's funny is when I got back into reptiles, I did the same thing. I just randomly would come across somebody's that kept venomous, and I would watch it, and I'd be like, "Dang, that's so cool! I wish I could do that." And then I was around a little longer, and I learned a little more, and I was like, I wouldn't ever. I don't ever want to do that.
No.
I think the prettiest snake besides like a green tree python is blue Enceladus,
Yeah.
because where else are you going to see a blue snake with a
I don't
viper
know,
shaped head?
man.
And
I think Manshang takes the cake.
yeah, but I'm a little more nervous about them. Uh, but I don't want it so I can like show myself holding this blue viper every day. I just want to set it up in a theoretically, if I were to have it, or hypothetically, I mean, if I were going to have it, I would just want it in like this really pretty bioactive enclosure and have like, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them in there and just look at them because they're beautiful. And I could be like, dang, I got these blue tree vipers in my room. This is awesome. And, I don't want to, but if I did, if I just took them out and I was holding them and I was handing them to my friends, I'd probably be making money right now. So maybe I should cut down on the morals and
Probably be dead.
get up on that money. Yeah, or I'd be dead. Yeah, one or the other.
Or him and all of his friends would be dead at the same time.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah, or
I
something
don't think
bad would
it's
happen to
worth
one of
it.
my friends, and then I'd feel really great about myself. That'd be cool. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, though. It's bound to happen. If you you can only mess around so many times before it kind of comes back and literally bites you in the case of a snake, and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And don't get
I,
me
I
wrong,
would like to see them.
I have a ton of respect for venomous keepers, and I think what they do is amazing. But I think it's a time and a place type thing. You know, if you're just, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be a reason that you're keeping them, right? And from what I understand, a
Sure.
lot of venomous keepers do supply local hospitals with venom for antitoxin and stuff. But I just think it's a time and a place type thing.
I had a
Yeah.
recurring dream that I owned venomous snakes and that I forgot to lock a lock and one of them got out and bit me in my sleep. And since then, I decided that I would never own one.
I have that dream at least 3 times a week. This is how much I think about venomous snakes. I'm serious. I go off deep dives researching these things, man. Deep dives.
The problem is it's hard to see those things. Like, you can Google a picture of a venomous snake, and that's cool. But it's kind of harder to see a lot of that stuff without watching those, the YouTubers who are there's people on Instagram who are like well respected venomous keepers for doing things in a safer, more appropriate way, or however you want to say that. But those people aren't the people who have YouTube channels that are posting videos showing you videos of all of these cool snakes, because it would be a boring video. What would they show you? Like, oh, here's me picking it up with 2 hooks and putting it in a box and locking the box so I can clean, and here's me putting it back. Like, no one's gonna watch it,
I think
you know.
if if you're the type of nerd that I am and you want to see venomous snakes, the Living Zoology YouTube channel is phenomenal, right? It is nothing but them taping venomous. It's not all venomous, right? They did scrub python and a couple others, but a
That
lot of it
scrub
has to do
python
with
one, I think you sent me the scrub python one. That was how I
that
found
was a
out
good
about him.
one.
It was
That was a good
incredible.
one, but
Yeah.
it it, it is just bare bones, right? There is no background music. There's nothing. It's them videotaping in the wild, and that's what you hear. and they put little paragraphs up on the screen for you to read real quick. But it is a really good channel.
Yeah,
I think
for
that's
sure.
the way to do it.
Definitely look into that.
Well,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
it's
he's got
almost
I
2
gotta put
hours.
Landon to
dying
bed.
over there.
I'm literally like covered in sweat. Like this is all. This backward camera is killing me. I'm sweating bullets right now. At least I don't have to do cardio at the gym because I've already sweated out plenty today, so we're good. Um, but before we go, uh, Russ, do you have any other questions or things you want to say?
I don't think I have any questions for Miss Peoples, but I do want to say to anybody listening, next week's episode is going to be a day early. Um, I will put out who the guest is tomorrow. I still have to get the picture and all that crap, but um, it's going to happen Saturday night instead of Sunday night. Somebody that I've been looking forward to talking to for a very long time and super excited to have on the show. So
Yeah,
stay tuned.
yeah, it's definitely going to be awesome.
Other than that, awesome show tonight, Katie. I loved it. I had a great
Thank you,
time.
guys. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for everyone that joined and supported any of the three of us, all of the three of us, however you want to look at that. We appreciate it. So, oh, no worries, Jordan. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Good night.
Later.